Hi, I'm Dr. Jeff Alexander from Ignite Programs. Fighting out of the corner. What the heck does that mean? Well, how do we use fear for our expansion? How do we use fear to actually help us get from point A to point B? In 1974, I was asked by the Los Angeles Police Department to put together a program for police officers who didn't have a healthy perception of fear. Bottom line, they were dying in the streets because of their reaction to fear. They went to this automatic programming that lives in all side of us. And even though they went to the academy, they had a really good mental perception of fear, of what to do and all the different options they had. But when the rubber hit the road and they were actually on the street and bullets were whizzing past your head, fear took a very strong grasp on their body. So how do we use that? What my job was to help them reframe and change their perception of fear. So I went back to how I put myself through dental school. I did this crazy thing called professional boxing. Yeah, I know, a health professional that knocks people out at night and then fixes them during the day. But one of the things I did is I utilized that experience plus my knowledge of how the mind and the brain works being at UCLA, and I married that together for a program that I had no idea at the time was going to change thousands and thousands of lives many years later, and it all started with the police department. When I went into boxing, let's face it, two people walk in that ring and there's going to be some damage done to either side, and hopefully you prevail at the end of that. I made sure that I knew all of the belief systems of that particular game. So I went around to coaches, trainers, I went to professional fighters, and I asked them questions, and I did some research. Essentially, I said to myself, if I'm going to go into this environment, if I am going to know ahead of time that I'm going to meet some challenges in this environment, it would be prudent to know how I'm going to train myself to be able to blast through those challenges. So that was what I was doing in that particular environment. I had no idea how that would bleed into thousands of other circumstances in my lives over the last 40 years. So one of the things that all the trainers and all the professional fighters told me is, it's hands down, it was the most common thing I heard is, don't ever get yourself backed into a corner. When you're in that boxing ring, there's 4 different corners that if you get trapped in, it's going to be devastating. You're going to be trapped. That's where the knockouts occur. You're not going to be able to get away. And when fighters see you trapped in the corner, they come in for the kill. Now, I heard that over and over again. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. That is the common belief system of everybody who seems to be prevalent in this particular game. So what did I make it my business to put myself consciously and purposely every single day? They say the fights are never won on fight night. The fights are won every day in the gym. That's where you practice. That's where you start to get this programming into your body. And so I made sure that every time I go to the gym, every single day when I trained, that I would go into the ring. Before the bell started, I would back up into the corner. I literally purposely put myself in a place where most people were trying to avoid. I made myself go in there. I found the biggest sparring partners I could get. They all thought I was crazy in this gym, And when the bell rang, I would tell them, come after me to try to knock me out. And I learned to fight out of the corner. I learned to move. I learned to make sure that that corner was my friend. You have got to make discomfort something that's familiar and friendly to it, so you understand and have a different healthy perception of what everybody else thinks. And I also knew that if everybody in this game of fighting saw that as a weak spot, how can I turn that into an advantage for me? If I master this part of this particular game so that the corner literally is not just my friend, but I get stronger. What if I could create feeling those ropes against my back as a signal to release this berserker, powerful attitude inside of me, and I had the mastery of everyday practice of making myself be this strong fighter in this environment where everybody else said people get weak and vulnerable, then that could be something that could be an attribute, a strength. So I took a weakness and I turned it into a strength. When fight night would come, I found myself being so comfortable with that that I would purposely back into a corner and I'd watch my opponent get sloppy, come in for the kill, wide open, and I'd be waiting for him because every single day that's where I put myself. And I got to tell you, I had 29 fights and 22 of them were knockout. And over half of those knockouts, yep, guess where they happened? In the corner with my back against it, catching guys as they were coming in. So I took in an area that everybody else believed to be a challenge, a weak point, and I turned it into something powerful. Now, what does that have to do with changing your ability to use fear? Well, everybody else that felt fear in that environment, I did too, until no longer fear was prevalent as the response in my mind when I felt that. I changed the programming in my body. Now, you can't do that by just thinking your way through. No, you have to do this physically. You must do this emotionally. You must do this to the point where that the mind starts to see a new pathway, cuts a new pathway in the neurons of your brain, and now you become friends with what everybody else runs away from. Then I took the same thing with law enforcement, and I went to the police officers, and I made sure they opened up their mouths, and they talked to me, and they shared with me, which wasn't an easy task for these hardcore police officers who are used to going out in the streets, but they opened up because they wanted something more than they feared not getting it. And they told me what their greatest fear was when they're riding in that car out in the streets. And it had to do with a lot of things that you'd be surprised. The fear of losing my life, the fear of hurting another human being, the fear of losing my child. All of these things came forward that I had to then put together and amalgamate it into exercises where we would recreate that fear in a safe environment. And they had an opportunity, like me in the gym, to go over this over and over and over again. I created unpredictable environments. I created things that you can't rehearse in the mind. Because if you notice, your mind likes to prepare. But a lot of things in life, when they come at you, all of a sudden it feels like you're back into a corner again. What if you could cultivate the attitude in your mind, well, it doesn't matter. You want me, you got me. Everything that other people run away from makes me stronger. And the police officers shifted overnight. In the 2 years that followed this training, not one police officer ever lost his life, ever, because of their negative reaction to fear. And it bled into other areas of their lives too. So if it works for them, it works for everybody. And for the last 25 to 30 years, it has changed the lives of thousands of people in Ignite Your Life, the weekend program, where you literally can cultivate an attitude and shift this negative response you have to fearful events in your life. It's an external reaction to an internal belief structure. And the only way to change the external outcome is you got to go inside. And that's what we did with the police officers. I've done it for thousands of people since then. And I invite you to join us at the next Ignite Your Life to do the same. Just remember that when you make that corner your friend, what you are saying, I am making fear and discomfort my friend. And when you do that, you then turn it into something that will fuel your energy, that will fuel your attitude, and you will go places that previously you said only leaders go to. That's your birthright. You came in with that right. Let me show you how to get there. So, if you like this video, if you want to know more, then click below, the link below, and please share the video. And so it is. Thank you. Hi, if you really like that video, please subscribe. That way you can get notifications of future videos I'm excited to share with you. Also, feel free to comment below. I get a lot of the subject matter from you, so I can address the topics that you want to hear the most about. And if you want to know more about our live events, go to my website listed below. Looking forward to meeting you in person.